Beverly, thank you so much for speaking with me. But more important, recently, myself and a group of very lucky folks got a chance to meet with you and your crew, and we were basically, I would say, food blessed. Can you explain to the audience what we're talking about, please?
Absolutely. So listen, first of all, Spring and the Spice Outdoor Food and Wine Festival. This year is happening May 11th. The ideal behind the festival is that we take cuisines that are underrepresented when it comes to wine study or wine in general. And we have those cuisines represented at the festival. And at the same site, you have wineries and wine agents showing you wines from around the world and also local wines to where we are. So for you guys, as like a preview to Spring into Spice, because clearly I can't have like 30 exhibitors set up just for
Hmm.
a preview. As a preview, I got one of our exhibitors, which is Rachel from the BB Man Project. And she does kind of like African fusion, some Caribbean influence as well in there. That's her style of food. I had Rachel come up with an incredible 4-course menu, and we paired all of those food items with wine and wines from around the world, and just showing the versatility of the food and the flavors, and how indeed, yes, this food from Ghana can definitely be paired with wine.
How did you come up with this idea?
Wow, from studying. So going through formal education to become a certified sommelier, you know,
Mhm.
people would use descriptions, tasting descriptors, sorry, scent descriptors, things that they smelled. Uh, and oftentimes there are things that in their Caucasian Canadian home, maybe they were exposed to, or when they went up north and they were exposed to these things like wild blueberries. And I don't know. Like my mom, who's Guyanese, would just go to Central Meat Market. That was a place in Kitchener-Waterland where I grew up. And she would just buy like the blueberries that were there. I don't know if they came from Mexico, if they came from, I don't know. That's what we ate. I never had pomelo. And so people would use these terms, and I had no clue what those things were. But when I would use terms from my upbringing, and I'd say, hey, this reminds me of such and such, like a Caribbean fruit or something I had when I was in Guyana, you know, it was shared that you can't really use those things. They're not official terms. When you're proctoring, people will not know what that is, and you would lose the mark for that. So I was like, well, that's not fair, because I don't know what pomelo really is either. But now I'm
Mhm.
just gonna put pomelo on the paper to hope I get away with it. Then I thought, if I'm trained or in the process of becoming certified, and I am like, wow, why can't I say what I want to say? And also felt a little ashamed for when I said things, because we're like, oh, what's that? I felt a little embarrassed because I was the only one that thought it was this thing. So I thought, what about other people who are of color or who are from a culture where their cuisine is not one that's typically seen with wine? These people must think that wine is so intimidating and just difficult and not something they want to even be a part of, which is a shame, because when you have that first wow moment with food and wine, you're like, why haven't I done this before? And I just felt like there's a whole part of our population who's missing out on that wow moment. So that's how Spring and the Spice came to be. It's like, how do we touch a lot of people all at once and show them that this is something you can do, and have them build their own narrative around food and wine at the festival?
Now, I did have a wow moment. In fact, everybody started laughing because I was so loud when I had that moment. Can you give us an example of, say, like what I experienced on a food and wine that you joined together?
Yeah. You know, so there's two, but I'll go with the one that's the most egregious to people who will be listening and watching this.
Mhm.
I once paired a curry goat with a South African Cabernet Sauvignon. And when I was about to pour it, there was a master somm who was there, and they said, "Do you know what you're doing?" I'm like, "I do, I definitely do," because I had tried it before, and that's when I got really geeky over congruent and complementary pairings on the palate, and realized that the oak that that wine had seen for a little bit of time imparted like nutmeg and clove and all this and allspice on the wine, and that my curry powder and seasoning also has those things. And oftentimes when Caribbean folk make curry, they'll add a little extra clove or they'll add a little extra allspice. And so I knew we were going to build a very lovely congruent pairing. And then also the tannins on that Cabernet Sauvignon was going to go wonderfully with that goat, especially because goat sometimes, depending on how you cook it and how often
Yeah.
you cook it, could need some tenderizing. And so the tannins from that wine will definitely do that. And you know what? It was wonderful. I know I loved it when I had it, and when I poured it for that master sommelier, they tried it, hands down, agreed.
Now, I love the story that you told us because, and please tell the folks where this is going to be happening and why, because you kind of mentioned the other places when you first tried to do it ended up being a little too small.
Yeah, so this is our third year of doing it. So this year we're at Fort York, the Garrison Commons, so the lovely green space at Fort York there. So that's where we are. Because the first year we thought it was a venue that would hold us, but then we had to close the doors early because we couldn't fit any more people, and it's outside. So imagine outside, open air, you should be able to fit more people. But we were like, no, no more people. And we moved it, very beautiful location. But again, that was tight the next year. So this year we went to Fort York because we were like, what's the biggest space we have in the GTA? We're like, Fort York can hold 5,000 people. Awesome, let's do it. So we're there, but it is quite big. So we're using a portion of Fort York because we don't expect 5,000 people. It'd be great if 5,000 came, but we don't expect that many. But yeah, we're at Fort York this year, and we look to grow with Fort York, and we look to be there next year and years to come.
So, one more time, let's go over again. So, people go to Fort York, and as we speak, this is happening this Saturday. What exactly will happen for them as soon as they walk through the, I guess,
Yeah.
gates or doors?
Yeah. So fake gates because we're outside. So
Yep.
entry.
Yep.
You get a lovely tasting glass, an actual glass that you can take with you, branded glass. And that's what you walk around with. And you will get a chance to sample different wines from all of our exhibitors that are there and different foods from multiple cuisines. We've got Bolivia, we've got Mexico, we've got Haiti, we've got Trinidad, we have Guyana, we have Jamaica, we have Ghana, we have Indian, we have like the list goes on of all the different foods that you'll be able to try. Um, and sample sizes, so food and wine sample tickets, or you can use your Visa or debit card at the actual booth. So it depends how you want to pay for that. You've got your options. But yeah, we encourage you to walk around and taste as much as you like and kind of build those new narratives and meet people too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, every year that I do this, I complain like I'm so tired. I'm so sleep deprived. I can't wait till this is over. But then on the day, like after the running around is done at the beginning, and then at the day when I'm standing around, I'm just looking at the crowd. I truly is emotional because I see all of Ontario, all of Canada represented. Every race is there, every religion is there, full representation of who we are as a country, and it's beautiful. So I say to people when you come out, yes, you're coming for the food, the wine, but you're also coming to build new relationships and meet people who are there doing the same thing you're doing that maybe you wouldn't have talked to before. But now you've got this commonality around trying new foods and wine. So that's the festival.
Okay, so one more time, when is it going to happen? Where is it going to happen? And how do we get tickets for this?
Absolutely. So it is May 11th, Saturday, May 11th, from 12 noon to 10 p.m. Those are our hours at Fort York on the Garrison Commons, right downtown. So 100 Garrison, what people probably know more is the 250 Fort York. But right there, that's the address. And you can get tickets and ticket information on springintospice.com. Very simple.
Oh, one last question. I think this is probably the most important one too. Is it, are we looking at family friendly or do you have to be a certain age because we are talking drinking wine?
It is a 19 and older event. Yeah.
Okay, make sure we got that across. Thank you so much for this interview. Thank you for giving us something to kick off spring. And more importantly, thank you for what you did for me because the food was so good and so was the wine, especially what was it, 180? That
The
now has be
180.
yeah, that's now
That was
become my wine.
That was very good. The late harvest Vidal, so wonderful.
I love it. Thank you again.
All right, cheers. Thank you for having me.